hill farmer has discovered the critically endangered and notoriously shy plains wanderer on his farm. Remarkably, he was able to stop his tractor and pick up the bird, which is usually only found in grassland but had taken up residence in his barley stubble. Peter Toohey recounts the moment of his rare discovery.
Well, it was on that really hot 44-degree day, and I chose the job on the tractor to work up some bog marks, and I was going through one of my barley stubbles, and I seen a little bird just crouched down in the barley stubble, and I thought that's quite possibly a plains wanderer. I stopped and tried in the barley stubble, and I thought that's quite possibly a plains wanderer. I stopped and tried to catch it, but it took off. I went another 300 metres, and there was another one, and it just stayed there. So I went and picked it up, and I was pretty sure it was a plains wanderer when I seen it, because it had all the distinct markings a plains wanderer has.
Had you ever actually seen a plains wanderer in the flesh before?
Yes, I have at different times. I've never been able to catch one, and it's very unusual to find them on cultivated ground, because usually, they're in sort of very sparsely, grassy, populated pastures like native grasses. So unusual to find them in a barley stubble.
And yes, of course, they are extremely rare and also notoriously shy. So it's quite extraordinary that you were able to actually put your hands on one.
Yeah, I think their nature is that they'll sit there and hide and hope that nobody will see them and pick them up. And I think one of the reasons why they're so rare is because I think a lot of quail shooters used to be able to easily pick them up instead of have to shoot them, because they were so the nature of just crouching down in the grass and blending in, and they do that very well in the native grasses.
Now, the one that you were able to pick up, what did you do with it?
Looked at it, took a picture of it, and let it go. So, yeah, and I certainly didn't want to harm it, and I've been contacted by Guelph, and they said it was a female, so they were very excited.
Jill Fleming, Natural Environment Program Manager with the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning, says it was a thrilling moment when she first saw Mr. Toohey's striking photo of the plains wanderer.
So, pretty excited. So the message came through from a contact we've got at Campaspe Shire. The photo alone sort of tells a fair bit, because it's a fairly cute photo that kind of looks like it's really a cartoon character of this bird being held by a farmer's hand, and it's definitely Peter's hand. I just like the fact that it's out of character for the birds. So we've got this idea about where birds prefer their habitat to be in a native grassland, and here's this female cruising along his stubble paddock. So she was obviously looking for something in particular, and he was able to hold her and take an amazing photo. Something in particular, and he was able to hold her and take an amazing photo. So it's actually my screensaver on my phone, just to remind me while I'm in the job each day and in meetings trying to do all the paperwork to kind of get conservation of certain species happening.
And it is incredibly rare to come across a plains wanderer, isn't it? Because I have spoken to people in the past who have spent many a night out on the grasslands searching for them, and they've just never come across one.
It is a bit of random luck. So we have long-term monitoring transects across the Patho Plains and Avoca Plains that we've been monitoring at night time, and lots of times those weeks come back with didn't find a bird. Now, we know that they're out there, but it's just chance that you come across them at the same time. It's also really rare that you find them in daytime, so you can walk across a grassland, and if you didn't know where the birds were, you could basically walk over them and not really realise it. So Peter obviously caught something out of his eye, and the movement was enough, and then she just sat there, he told me, and so he was able to pick her up. But it is really rare. He knew that they were about, but I think it was the first time he'd actually seen them, and definitely the first time he'd held one.
How many plains wanderers do we actually have in Victoria?
Well, that's the unknown question. So what we've been doing with partners through funding from Victorian Government is actually trying to record via song meters the plains wanderer call. So it's the female that calls in breeding time, and probably during the year just to chit-chat with her friends. But we've got now 50 song meters out across the Patho Plains and Avoca Plains to try and work out where the birds are. And so the song meter will record for an hour at dawn and dusk, and we get a whole heap of noise. So we get all the other birds, we get the cows and the sheep. And so what we've got is software, recogniser software that the Museum of Victoria developed for us to help us try and hone in on that piece of recording sound to then have staff confirm the presence of a plains wanderer.
But as far as a best guess at numbers, are we talking in the hundreds rather than in the thousands?
We're probably talking
in the hundreds rather than in the thousands?
We're probably talking less than 1,000. The population definitely crashed in the early 2010 with the floods that came across northern Victoria. That changed the amount of biomass, so the amount of grass that was basically across the landscape. And the plains wanderers are really fussy about their suitable location. They don't like it too bare and they don't like it too thick. So with all that increased grass, the habitat became unsuitable and the birds disappeared. Now, we're not too sure exactly where the birds went, and we're not really sure where the birds that we're now finding have come from. We think there's some kind of crossing over from New South Wales birds and into Victoria, but we think we've got less than 1,000, but we don't know a final number.
Now, there are all sorts of programs like habitat management to try and restore the numbers of the plains wanderer, and Zoos Victoria is also running a captive breeding program. What do you think the future is for the plains wanderer in northern Victoria?
I think it's really good because I think the increased awareness and partnership between all the agencies can only be a great thing for our effort, and we're now getting more and more people involved who previously probably were a bit wary of what it meant if they found a plains wanderer on their property. The use of the song meters has been a really great engagement tool to now get out into farms where previously we probably weren't able to kind of knock on the door and go, we think you've got some really cool habitat for a plains wanderer. Would you like us to kind of monitor for it? And so we're now in an area where previously farmers weren't too sure, but they're kind of curious. They're interested and they can see that it's probably going to be a badge of honour that they've been able to have suitable habitat. And so I think we will find numbers increasing, and the monitoring via the song meters will definitely keep reinforcing the presence of plains wanderers in a lot more areas. And I think the captive breeding program will definitely put numbers back into the land. But the critical thing is that the loss of habitat will be the thing that takes plains wanderers back into a critical state. So the loss of grass, a critical state. So the loss of grasslands to cropping land, we can't easily bring back that habitat type. So we're really needing to kind of work out how we protect and work with landholders who might want to diversify their farm but still keep habitat suitable areas for the plains wanderer.
That was Jill Fleming from the Department of Environment, Land, Water and Planning.